Good morning, KNS. It is Saturday, January 24th. I'm your host, Bud Wiry, and you're in the shop. So, guys, we've had a lot go on since last time I was out here talking to you. So, let's get right after it. So, we have the water deal going on. I'm going to get into a lot of the details and who all's been covering that up. But, this water thing is a huge one. It's not going away. It's probably going to be the story of our decade. But, the water problems around the world, we're going to get into a lot more of that. But I wanted to start out with some of the things that we've had going on just to touch base. So we had the IMI development out there by 47 and 52. They've tabled that for 90 days. And I know a lot of you guys will know that because you follow along on the different pages. But for those of you that are listener only, I want to just catch everybody up. So that project got tabled for 90 days. They're going to wait until the new comprehensive plan comes out and then see what kind of guidance it gives. I know for me personally, I don't need a whole lot of guidance to tell me that putting another concrete plant within a mile of another concrete plant with as big a water users as what they are is pretty sketchy. We don't have that kind of water here. If we had that kind of water here, they wouldn't be pumping it all the way from the Eagle Creek Reservoir and then tainting it, throwing it back. But so we have that development's on hold for 90 days. They're going to wait and they're going to revisit that. And then you also have out there in Frankfort, Clinton County, their data center. So their planning commission sent it to the commissioners with a favorable to rezone this land. That way they could put the data center there. And and kind of a surprise because some of the commissioners had actually looked like they were a little more for it. But I don't think they could get a deal. Once they started actually trying to barter with these companies and get down to the brass tacks, then they didn't think that their community was getting enough for what it was going to cost them. So actually, all three county commissioners up there in Clinton County actually voted down this rezoning for this data center. And I mean, good on them for actually, you know, while they may have tentatively supported it, they actually listened to the people, listened to the people's concerns, and actually made sure that once they found out that the people of that community weren't going to be getting as good of a deal, then they backed off of there. So good on them for taking the time to go over it, and instead of just charging headlong into something, which is like I mean that's what we have over here in the Lebanon area. I mean they have just kept charging headlong into one problem after another. I mean they started out with the LEAP project, which starting a big project like that and pretty much a water desert anyway. Like it doesn't have the volume and the capacity, and that's the same thing. And we're all in the same areas. That's why the concrete plants being so close together. Like we have our limitations on water here, which the limitations are really pretty good. We have plenty of perfectly good fresh groundwater for the people of our community. We just don't have enough to run these giant megacorps that want to sit there and suck all this. Because if you look at the millions of gallons a day that say that Lebanon pumps now from over there by Sugar Creek, and they pump a million from the well that they have in town, million gallons a day. And so if you start counting up the people that are around, and you're like, well, we're getting enough water in this county that we could actually be giving the people um the fresh groundwater that doesn't have all these chemicals. And guys, I've been doing a lot of research on the groundwater and the chemicals in it and how good or not good waste treatment plants are at getting this out, because we get all these chemicals going through there. And I mean, they got thousands and thousands of chemicals, and they're just being released into the waterways, and then people are getting there and they're pumping it up because they're using up all our water. So now everybody's having to drink the surface water, and this stuff is loaded full of chemicals that they frankly don't even test for. So nobody really knows how much it's in there. And I've went over pretty extensively how poorly waste treatment plants were at getting out pharmaceuticals. I mean, in some cases, they're actually more concentrated by the time they come out of the waste treatment plant because it binds them together. So, I mean, you got some of them that they're pretty good, like acetaminophen and some of these others that might come out 80, 90%. But there's some of them that they don't get them out at all, or they multiply. And the thing is, all of these things, like we've talked about before, these waste treatment plants aren't even testing for this stuff, and they're just dumping it out into the community without really knowing what the long-term stuff is going to be for a lot of these things. So yeah, so the long story short, there's over 3,000 pharmaceutical compounds in the waste treatment plant. Test for absolutely none of them. Okay, so now let's move on to with the data center. So we'll get into some of the stuff that they do test for, which they test for more of the industrial chemicals, so they know what they have a little longer history with that. They know a little more about it. It's a little more straightforward for them to test for. So with the industrial chemicals, so here's the data center rub, I guess you could say. Here's what a data center makes up. So you have the biocides that they add to the water to keep it from, forming any sort of algae or anything like that in their water tanks, which would be inside their whatever they're trying to cool and everything else. So out of biocides, a waste treatment plant, depending on how good the waste treatment plant is, can get out between 53 and 99% of the biocides from a data center. Now they also add corrosion inhibitors, and this for a lot of the UCAR folk or people that work on things. Corrosion inhibitors are a big part of your antifreeze system now. It keeps all the internals in your coolant system from getting all nastied up and corroding the inside of your radiator, et cetera, your heater core. So these corrosion inhibitors that they put into it to make it this water antifreeze like to where it doesn't corrode the inside of your stuff, they can get out about 80 to 90% of that. Which, yeah, and he's like, oh, 80, 90%, still pretty good. But just remember that's still 10% of their chemicals, their corrosion inhibitors still getting by. But now heavy metals, there's another one. And that's something that's gone way back in our state from industrial things. So they've always tested for the heavy metals because you get mercury and different things. They actually, if you get the kind of the map of where all the fish are in the state of Indiana and how much of them you can eat healthily, because they actually have a chart and it'll say like you can have one meal of this a month because of how much these metals have concentrated in these fish. I mean, you can really get poisoned by some of them. So even across the state, if you go to the DNR or whatever, you can get the list of where you can eat the fish from and how much. In Indiana, we already got some pretty bad waterways in the state, so that's a pre-existing condition. But we need to be working towards making that better, not just amplifying the problem. So anyway, but of the heavy metals, our waste treatment plants can get out 70 to 95% of them. So they're getting a good bit of them out. But here's the big one that's coming out of the data centers that a lot of these PFAS, what they known as forever chemicals. And they have, they've been testing for these for a long time. And because they found out how bad it is and that it's a cancer causing agent, all the stuff that's in this. So this little series of PFAS chemicals. Well, on a data center, it's pumping this stuff out because it comes off a lot of different stuff inside the data center itself and all the stuff that it's cooling and these chemicals, but they wash in, and a standard waste treatment plant gets out less than 50% of these PFAS chemicals that are coming out. So that means those are passing right through the waste treatment plant and into our waterways. And then and that's the problem that has everybody up in a tuss about this. We have a lot of communities that discharge their stuff into waterways, right? But this is like a direct shot. Like if you put it right into the Eagle Creek Reservoir, I mean, that is literally just the bowl that everybody's water's sucking out of. And something else these guys are going to have to worry about. There's everybody knowing this is happening creates a yuck factor to the water. And these water companies like Citizens thinks that they're going to be making this big deal with Lebanon. It's going to make them this much more money. They might see something on the backside of this because there's going to be a lot of people there's a lot of the people out there right now that know about this stuff. I mean, just because the people around you and your local politicians tell you it's okay, you got communities like Carmel that run on 20 different wells so that their water that they're going to their community doesn't have that stuff in it. Previously, Lebanon's not had that. Your well water does not have these PFAS, forever chemicals, all this different stuff in it that surface water does. And we have some of the most polluted surface water in the United States. and it's coming right back into everybody's faucets. And they tell people it's treated water. And what treatment means is they did a crappy job filtering it. I mean, because if you look at it, those aren't great stats. I mean, I don't care. I mean, if you rephrase these things to be like asking the people, how much of this septic leach at, how much of this stuff, how much of this are you okay with drinking? People would have a vastly different feel. And it's amazing how it's all how it registers in their mind. People see it like, oh, treated water. And they're made to believe that treated water is good and good enough to drink. But yet at the same time, it has all this other stuff in it. And then that's the same thing. Nobody will take a mattress off a marketplace if it was given away for free, but yet they'll go and spend $300 at a hotel to go sleep in one. See, it's all about how it's in their mind. But when you're looking at all these different chemicals in the water and everything, I mean, it only gets worse the more you get after. Once you get into microplastics and nanoplastics and all this other stuff that's in surface water, we need to be doing a lot better in what we're doing. Everybody right now, though, to get back to the point at hand, is everybody's up in arms about what Lebanon's doing. We have news stuff going nonstop out. Rick's Boatyard has posted about it twice. The Audubon Society's posted about it. Town of Speedway has posted about it. The Sierra Club held a protest about it. The Indy Star's posting about it regularly. These things are not going away. Nobody is going to forget the fact that Lebanon, Indiana is sending their industrial wastewater from Lilly and stuff and dropping it right in the reservoir. This will not be forgotten by anybody anytime soon. And everybody, and these companies that are going to come into this, they better they're probably going to get this in their NDAs or whatever, but they need to be making sure that they're not going to be held liable, because with that little of a separation between these people's wastewaters and people's homes, just think the lawsuits that are going to come. I mean, down the road, people are going to be filing lawsuits because they got this or they had that, and they're going to be looking for the money, and the lawyers are going to find their way back to all these companies that are right here at the Leap District in Lebanon, Indiana, and they're going to see them, and they're going to see big old piles of money, and we're going to have people out here in the creeks, wherever the exact dump point is that they drop it off at, to head on over to the thing. We're going to have people testing this water because they're going to be trying to lawsuit these people out. These are big pools of money. And I'm going to be there for that, because they absolutely, it doesn't even have to be this way, because if they weren't, they're lying to you. They're telling you that this water is okay and everything else. They could literally, if all this water was good, they'd just make a big pool of it, and then have that out of that pool, they would have it pump over into the water tower. They'd just have a replenishing supply from someplace like Eagle Creek Reservoir, and it wouldn't even be that much. But if you even look, so Matt Gentry, he got caught up. He posted that there was a law that, in Indiana, that it can't go right back into the water supply after a waste treatment plant. And if you go to the code in Indiana, why they do that, it's because they want it to, basically dilute and the natural processes of light and everything else to help kind of break up some of the other stuff that's in it. It's not that it's clean, and it's not that it's safe, like they tell you. It's that they want it to go in there and they want it to dilute in the rest of the water. But the problem with the Eagle Creek Reservoir, that dilution is somebody's faucet. I mean, you're going right into their water supply, and that's like the Audubon Society. And what they said, they're like the mud flats right there, where all the water comes in to the reservoir, is a really big bird sanctuary for the birds that come in. They feed off the worms inside the mud flat, and they have that whole avian area to the park over there. So the birding is a very big part of that culture right there. But the Audubon Society, they did all the postings about how this is actually a national place. So when birds migrate, it's like on the migration list for where these birds would stop and do a layover and such. But it's pretty interesting to see all these different people coming together for the same thing, because I mean, you get fishermen are mad. I mean, everybody's mad. I mean, on the polling here locally that I did on the Lebanon chatter group, yeah, 95%, and this poll probably had 500 votes to it. So, they always try to say that these polls don't matter, but you guys are real people. It's you guys that are on these pages. You're real people, so don't even buy into that lies. But this is over 500 people and in our community, and 95% of them opposed sending the wastewater from the LEAP district back into Eagle Creek Reservoir. 95. So how out of touch and how shitty are your politicians if 95% of the community does not want them to do something and that's what they do? I mean, how far off is our government? How far back do we got to come when 95% of a community can think that something's not right and that's what they're doing? I mean, we got a whole thing, and the start of this year has brought a lot of thinking to me, and I know that we got to get to where this next step is, because we've fallen so far from what it used to be. Like, we used to know who our neighbors were. We used to talk to them. We would, and as a community, you would kind of try to keep some of these things at bay. But what we have now is, since everybody's kind of wrapped up in a virtual world, people don't talk, people don't communicate. You don't know what your neighbors are doing. And, we're going to have to find our way back from that a little bit, because that's part of how they got this project started to begin with LEAP. They had all these people coming in here, and they were dealing with this neighbor and dealing with that neighbor, and they were separate, and those neighbors weren't talking. So when they told, oh yeah, your neighbor over here, he's going to sell, and he's going to leave you, and you're going to be just surrounded by it. So now you have to sell, nobody had any point of reference because they weren't talking. And we're going to have to get past that, because if we're going to end up living still in a community we want to be in, the community is going to have to stay watching, because if you see all these things that they do, they're going to keep marching down these roads unless us, the people, tell them that they have to stop. Because that's the bottom line is they're doing it. They're full steam ahead, and it's just going to be one fight after another. And now what we got to do, we need to make the fighting easy. It doesn't have to be hard. As long as you have an organized body of people that are ready to go and that are ready to stop them when they go to push this nonsense, then, you can get a long way towards it. Definitely imagery wise. Are they going to sit there, when they are allowed to pass this stuff to no attendance? Now, sometimes I know they plan their own no attendance, like when they voted the data center over there in Lebanon. They didn't advertise it as a data center. I mean, it could have been somebody's sidewalk being redone, and you wouldn't have been able to tell any difference the way they had it worded. So they just sneak that stuff through. But, I mean, actually putting it in attendance and people showing up, and you see it works the best. I mean, when people show up, they have a lot across this country. When you see the events, and that's up there in Frankfurt, they had a lot of the community showing up, a lot of the community coming out and putting bodies on the ground to do these things. So I think that's going to be a step moving forward that everybody's going to have to try to get back to. And, hopefully 26 blesses us with some of that in that regard. But we're going to have to come together to be able to make smarter decisions, because this water issue, it's so much bigger than what, they're kind of making it out to be. Right now we're just talking about, the Eagle Creek Reservoir. They're going to come, they're going to pollute it, or they're going to, how much water are they going to take from it, pump into these things? But water is a world issue that we're having right now, and it's in all the different news. I mean, they're literally calling it a water bankruptcy. I mean, we're looking at Mexico City sinks 20 inches a year because its aquifers under it are pumped down. And, we have Kabul. It's probably the first modern city that's literally just going to be run out of water. Like, they have nothing left. The people are going to have to flee the city, I guess. I mean, water is life, and you either going to have it trucked in. I mean, what's that look like once you're to the point to where there's just none around? And it is going to be. The Colorado has been running dangerously low. The Mississippi has been running low. These are real things, and they have real consequences. I talked earlier this year about on some of the farms, they go to ship out this grain. Well, part of the premium they're paying now is because since the Mississippi has been running low, come harvest time, their grain is actually being charged more to export because it's taking more to get down there, because the barges are just kind of running in a narrow channel in the middle instead of being able to have more of them out there. So this water level stuff, and it affects so much. And when you see and I've seen that thing that about the ground sinking, I've seen that in the U.S. Out there in the West, they're having this same problem. And it's this whole thing. We're sitting there trying to, in a lot of those areas, they're trying to farm, so they're using a ton of water for irrigation. And then up here, we got ground that's so good that it doesn't even require irrigation to grow great crops. And they're just plowing it over as fast as they can. And, if we're going to look farther and look into what we're going to leave our children and grandchildren, we're going to have to just be smarter. We have to be smarter than these idiots that have been running the show so far, because otherwise they're not going to have it. I mean, I looked at the stats. Indiana has lost 375,000 acres of farmland in the past 10 years. Well, if you start doing the mathing out on that, you're like, okay, so in 400 and some years, there's not going to be a single acre of farmland left, if they just keep taking it and destroying it at that rate. So at some point, you got to be like, all right, when we look at our time on the timeline of the world, I mean, people as a whole is just a little blip. So, and then you're going to talk about just, our lifespan of a few people. How much can a certain amount of people destroy before you're just being way, way too greedy? Like, guys, all right, you got to stop. You can't keep doing this. I mean, I'm all about everybody needs a place to work. And that's why, along the interstates, that's historically where Boone County's always developed. I mean, all the way from Whitestown on in, that's been developing along the interstate. But these guys aren't just trying to take that. They're trying to push hard, and then they're trying to put these industries that use so much of the natural resources. And you just got to wonder, why are they leading us down this road? I mean, is the greed of money just so much for them that they can't see past? Because none of this stuff, the stuff these people are doing to their own names by signing off on this. Who wants to be the guy that, approved all this industrial and pharmaceutical waste going into everybody's water supply? Who wants that on their conscience? Who wants that on them? So why are these people, what is so tempting about government? Is it just because they're on the inside clique, or what makes them willing to sell out their friends, their neighbor, their community, and everybody else just to be part of it? Is it money? Is it this promises of something down the road? But I don't know what it is, but we as a society are just going to have to be better. We're going to have to be more engaged as a community. We're going to have to push our elected representatives to do right, because left to their own devices, they're not doing us right. They're not. What these people are doing isn't going to help us. This isn't going to make our lives better. This ain't making anybody. The people over there right now that are living by the mothership, as they like to call it, all them lights over in Meta, and there's the city coming out saying they were going to enforce that, and the lights are blinding everybody once again. They are going to allow these big corporations to come into our communities and crap on them just however they want. They've been doing it. It's continuing to happen. And why would your politicians give up our natural resources to let communities come in and crap on us? Also, they can get an extra dollar in their coffer. Maybe they get a take-home vehicle or something. I don't know. But, guys, I just want to reiterate, we came a long way last year on how everybody's been engaging and how many people are pushing and sharing this information. We've done great, and it's actually just been showing us the roadmap. So I think we can get to the point, guys, to where we can have kind of a self-policing community where all it takes is for us to be neighbors to one another. We have to, share the information when we get it, keep open about it, stay in communication with your politicians. We need to get this to a place to where we don't have to work. Like, it shouldn't have to be a fight to have your community run the way the people want. And so, and elections are coming right up. So if you're one of the inspired that, is running for office or different things, we're all going to have to be coming to this sort of a level where the community is back to working for the people. And we've gotten a long way with it, but still got a long way to go. Well, guys, you have a great rest of your weekend. Everybody try to stay warm. It's going to be horribly frigid temperatures for the next week and a half. So, I mean, keep that faucet dripping a little bit. Make sure the antifreeze is good and everything you got. Stay safe out there. See you next week.